Yes, Grenada, when you play the games of the NLA, you enable us to invest in the skills and talents of our people in the areas of sports, culture, and nation building.
If it's one thing I'm most grateful for, it's life. Knowing where I came from and knowing where I'm at today.
Good evening and welcome once more to MTV Community Forum. And I'm your host, Byron Campbell, and I want to welcome you. A pleasure for you to be here with us this evening. And of course, let me recognize Christopher Diali. Chris, our co-host.
Good evening, Byron. Pleasure to be here again on another community forum. And as usual, we're going to try our best to keep our audience engaged.
Chris, well, I'm telling our audience early what's going to be happening. Of course, this part of the program, we have our usual discussion, which would be about 15 minutes or so. But then we have an interesting guest, Chris. And should I tell you or should I keep it a secret?
No, you could go ahead.
I can tell you.
And tell me.
Our guest this evening is no other than Christopher Diali Jr. Actually, it's not you, it's Junior.
Yeah,
Chris.
Junior.
No relationship, probably, I understand. He, of course, is the NNP caretaker for the South St. George constituency. So we look forward to having this young man with us, joining us later for an interesting session. Chris, in the meantime, there's a lot happening here locally. I want to start with our ex-Senator Neelan Franklin. There's a preliminary autopsy report, I understand, that talks about the symptoms of the cause of death. No conclusive autopsy report yet, I understand. But what we've been hearing is that the death may have been caused by what is described as coolant, a liquid.
Antifreeze.
Antifreeze, yeah. That is extremely dangerous. I was looking it up the other day, and it can cause multiple organ failures and all kind of issues there. But there's no concluding evidence. In other words, the report from the Trinidad pathologist made no conclusion. But I'm to understand, Chris, you have sight of a police statement on the matter. What does it say, Chris?
Yeah, well, to start off, it's unfortunate that the comments you're hearing is indicating that the young man died of, not natural means. The police put out a report and they have said that so far, what they understand is that the pathologist's report has not been conclusive, and they have not gotten a toxicology report either on whatever substance the gentleman may have found. So the police cannot move ahead to say that it was not a natural death or something outside of that for them to start an investigation. And that is a normal protocol that the police had to have some evidence. Facts that this is something outside of the norm or nefarious, something happened to the young man, and as such they can now launch an investigation into what could have been the cause of death that led to his demise. So I mean, I know it is an emotional thing for the family, but I think emotions taken over where there is no objectivity in terms of the facts of the matter in how the young man died, and I think we need to wait.
So it's premature, for example, that the chairman of the NNP, Dr. Keith Mitchell, asking for requesting a formal investigation. This is premature.
Well, a formal investigation into what?
Well, into the cause, into his death, because it was being interpreted as though there was some foul play.
That's the point. The police don't have no evidence that there's any foul play.
So they can't proceed in that way.
Yeah.
In other words, we must all wait on the biopsy. The
pathologist report.
Yeah, fine. Chris, that news was devastating the other day that we are unable to export our fish to the United States. We will be unable come January if we don't do certain things. But it's interesting that we learned that St. Vincent is not on this list. They got the same notice, the same from the U.S. administration But the point is, they were able to follow up. They were able to do the work relating, of course, to how they treat bycatch. In other words, this species, particularly dolphin and other mammals,
Like whales.
How is it treated? How is it dealt with? So we fell short here, Chris.
Without a doubt, we have no hesitation at our Ministry of Fisheries fell short.
Yeah.
They were put on notice many months before
Yeah.
they went on this blacklist.
Yeah.
And the irony of it is the only island in the OECS that is allowed to take mammals is St. Vincent.
Mhm.
They are allowed 4 whales a year to catch 4 whales
Yeah.
a year, and you use the meat accordingly.
Yeah.
So here we are, we don't do that. And we are put on a blacklist because we have not followed up on the information that came to us asking, until it is alleged that the reason we didn't follow up is because we didn't have personnel in the fisheries department to deal with the reports and to answer the questions.
That may be true. I
and-
think that may be true.
And that the government is looking to get
yeah.
people to put in the Ministry of Fisheries to deal. I mean,
Because
government is a continuous.
Someone that retired, I understand, who came back, was asked to come back to assist there. But even to now, my information is that there's a lot of vacancies there on the staff there. Same you can say in the Ministry of Agriculture also.
Yeah,
So the
but-
question of succession planning.
Yes, and not only that, Byron, you have to prioritize. Fisheries is not a small industry for us, right? It's a huge industry.
It's a priority of the government. It's
Right.
called what's it called? The blue economy.
Right, and
Yeah.
from an environmental point of view, it's a huge thing for us.
Yeah.
And we do, in fact, as I am aware, our catches of like yellowfin tuna is a top quality
Yeah.
thing.
High quality.
We get high,
quality
but
fish.
good prices for what we
that.
ship. So we play in roulette, Russian roulette.
Yes,
in
Chris,
my
but
view.
there's also an OECS fisheries unit also, and I would thought that this OECS unit would have been coordinating. One of the issues we face also in the near shore fishing, the seine fishing, is that the fauché, this is the section on the back that traps the fish. It's a netting, it's a mesh. The size of it determines, and we are not operating with OECS standards. It's too small in that it traps a lot of species and fishes, juveniles, that we don't use and we don't need. So whenever the net's cast, you can see, you walk along the beach, you'll see a lot of juvenile fishes, small fishes, that the net trapped and held. That is not usable. That is simply dying.
Well,
thrown
and this
back
is
into the
what
sea.
I think this ban is about.
Yeah.
Do we have processes and procedures and regulations
Yeah.
in place to
Yeah.
manage that?
Yeah.
And again, that's a sustainability issue. Because when you
Yes.
catch all these small juvenile fish, you're interfering with the stock.
Absolutely.
And we have our fishermen
Absolutely.
complaining right now
Yes,
that we have to go
yes,
further
yes,
and
yes,
out
yes,
to
yes.
get possible the proper size
Chris, so
catch.
it's an issue. And,
Yeah.
and as we talk about fish, Chris, of course, with the U.S. now having multiple warships, nuclear-powered submarines, scores of stealth fighter jets, apparently stationed in Puerto Rico in the region, and in the southern Caribbean, and with the destruction or the bombing or the shooting up of a trawler that we saw, a fishing boat, and no evidence have been presented on whether it was a drug cartel or who was in the boat, what was in the boat.
But 11 lives are lost.
Exactly, 11 lives. Fishermen in Trinidad are on saying, look, I don't feel safe going in those waters. And I mean, if I'm a fisherman from Grenada or anywhere in the Southern Caribbean, I would be concerned about my safety in the sea because of the modus operandi of the U.S. Navy. The U.S. Department of War, of course, is called. now.
Further putting further pressure
Yeah.
on the fishing industry
Yes.
and the guys who export fish and what is going to happen to their business.
Yes.
We already see that the catches are diminishing in terms of volume and what is happening because of the sargassum issue and what's going
Yeah.
on with that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have multiple things happening to us on the front in terms of that
Yeah.
sector and agriculture that I keep saying when Budget 2026 is presented, we need to understand how the budget is going to look to adjust to these things that are happening now as it relates to the fishing industry, which is an important business for us in these parts.
Yeah. Chris, 2 elections, Jamaica and Guyana, where you had the incumbent, regaining government, parliaments.
Mr. Holness,
Interesting Holness,
Jamaica.
and in Guyana you have
Dr. Afran Ali.
yes. So we congratulate them. But what's interesting, Chris, is in Jamaica, extremely low voter turnout, under 40%, 39% apathy. I mean, where's the interest? That is very, very low and concerning.
It is very concerning, I think.
Yeah.
And you know, Jamaica have traditionally had a lot of violence surrounding the election, the election and when
Yeah.
they're doing the
Yeah.
campaigns. It didn't appear that that is what happened this time, but yet still low voter turnout, and we haven't gotten a analysis of who voted and who did not vote. So, for example, if it was a high in youth or not,
Yeah, we don't know.
or,
We don't
or
know.
high in more
Yeah,
mature.
yeah.
So it's something that obviously the incumbent party was able to rally their base.
Clearly, yes.
Right, and
yes,
whatever
yes,
the
yes,
programs
yes,
and
yeah,
however
yeah.
they marketed themselves. So, I mean, congrats to Mr. Holness and his party.
But in Guyana, what's interesting, Chris, too, we usually have in Guyana a line down the middle. You have the
Guyana is more racial, Indian
Indians
and
and African descent.
yeah.
But what's happening now, those lines are getting a bit blurred now.
Right.
Again, because of the economy, the oil, the government has been doing pretty well. So I want to understand why there's more support directed to them. Chris, of course, a little bit of politics now, Chris, that the NNP General Council was held on the weekend, on Sunday. I was looking, it was on television, I was looking at a part of it, particularly there's a section that was broadcast live on YouTube and social media. But what was interesting there, Chris, I thought was, of course, when you got up in the morning, social media was blanketed with the comments of the chairman, Dr. Mitchell, essentially talking about his girlfriend and who she was, who she is, what she does, her work, her qualifications, and details of that nature, which, talking to persons, they saw it as these were personal matters that did not belong to this forum in this sense. But what is interesting that it took away, I felt, from the leader of the party, the political leader of the party, in terms of when you ask people what was the message, because she spoke about high cost of living and other pertinent issues. And when I looked at the, because both speeches are on YouTube, and Chris, you'll be surprised that the leader,
chairman.
the leader, that is
Emlyn?
Emlyn Pierre,
Okay.
Honorable Emlyn Pierre, she had, up to the last time I viewed it, 1,100 views. Whereas the chairman, Dr. Mitchell, had 5,500. You know, it's like 400% more plus, you know. And what was generating this interest, of course, his remarks returning to his girlfriend and all those personal matters. So well, I'm saying this to say that clearly there's a distraction. You know, rather we get the focus on and the essence of the messaging coming out from the party and from the leader. You didn't have that. Instead, we had a distraction.
Well, I mean, I looked at it in some part as well.
Yeah.
And I heard Dr. Mitchell. And Dr. Mitchell is a good theatrical person, so
Yeah.
he has a lot of theater in him. So he entertains. Apart from he spoke a lot of things about the
Yeah.
government and what
Yeah.
they're doing, and
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, he referred to them in certain disparaging remarks about
Yeah.
how he called
Yeah.
them and so
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
But you're correct. Honorable Emlyn Pierre's message, I think, got lost within that theatrical presentation, beating his chest and so on and so forth. I mean, there's nothing wrong in a person expressing themselves, but in a general council forum, you probably would have expected that the issues about content, what the party is planning to push,
Yes.
the areas they have serious concern
Yes.
about, and how they plan to
Yes.
address it.
Yes.
And I think the Honorable Emlyn Pierre was doing that to some degree, but again, it got lost within the
Absolutely.
you
Totally
know,
lost.
we as a people like action too. We like nonsense. So sometimes there's that to balance that, and I think
Yeah,
probably
yeah, yeah,
Dr. Mitchell may
yeah.
have gone a little too
Yeah,
far in
okay,
terms of the
okay.
messaging.
Chris, we have the loss of Michael Blaise Robinson, a panist, someone I got to know, not so much from the PAN side, from the cultural side, but his work at Marketing Board. I think he was the chief personnel officer there for a while. But I admired his humility, such a warm and kind person. And of course, his music, his cultural interest, his contribution to Pan, as a panist, quite a loss for us.
Oh yeah, and I want to extend condolences
Yeah.
to his family.
Yeah,
And to tell them, I hope his soul rest in peace. But I got to know him through Marketing Board,
okay.
more personally as well,
Yeah,
when I was
okay.
the chairman of Marketing Board.
Okay.
And he was a personnel officer, of
Yeah.
course. And we remained friends
Yes.
after that. And of course,
Yeah.
I always told him that, Pan Wizards in
Yeah.
River Road, I would love for him to teach me to play Pan. And we were arranging for that to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
I told him that's one of the things I'd like to do. So yes, he was very good at his musical side. He did a lot of work to get Pan
Yeah.
Wizards where they are today.
Yeah.
And he was a lover of the art.
It's a loss.
And he
Such a beautiful
yeah,
person.
and he was
Yeah.
a gentleman that
Deepest condolences.
nothing was too difficult for him to give a
just
chance
very
at.
approachable.
Mhm.
Chris, we've had another death also, Handel Buldell,
Buldell, yeah.
engineer. Someone who have done a lot of work, particularly the infrastructural work for the country, going back to the 80s. I'd be a loss too.
Yes,
Deepest
yes.
condolences also.
Condolences to the family as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah,
Handel was, of course, an engineer
Yeah.
dealing with road construction
Yeah.
in the most part.
yeah.
And he has been in that for many
Yeah,
a years.
Yeah,
And worked for Nawasa in recent times and more recent.
yeah.
And did excellent work. He had his own company doing those works.
Mhm.
He used to work in Ministry of Works for a while before he went on his own. So it's going to be a loss for us in
Certainly,
that sense,
certainly.
and for the family, of course. And we hope that everything goes well with the
Yeah.
family, that they have had that loss, and hopefully, the Japals, he was married to a Japal, and it's a loss for the Japal family and the Diali family
Yeah.
as well.
Okay. Chris, CBI, we always have this conversation on that, but we know what's happening in the CBI program or the passport selling program. That's what it is actually. Gonzales have come out on this and put it down and says, look, it's an insult. This is not where the region should be going, diminishing our value and our passport, and particularly given the Trump 2.0 in Europe and everybody where they are now, he doesn't see it as something that's sustainable. But what's interesting developing here, Chris, of course, is that we have some drop-off of sponsors. That's how you call them?
No.
The lawyers that...
Agents.
Agents. And we understand there's two significant agents here who have decided, look, it's too
Yeah.
expensive, we're not making enough money. I mean, should we just close it down, Chris? I mean...
No, I think you have agents over the years based on the level of their business and what they do.
Yeah,
Based on the fee that they have to pay to keep their license going.
yeah.
The fee is not a small fee.
10,000 US?
That's right.
It's $28,000.
And if your program is well structured and doing well in the CBI sphere,
Yeah,
that is small money to pay
yeah,
based on what you can make. So obviously, Anandi Trotman and Mrs. Duncan felt that the business was not, it was costing too much based on the
Yeah.
business they're getting. But it also signals the fact that the downturn in business in CBI is going to cause some challenges for the agents and what the fees they
Yeah.
have to pay going forward. So it is something that, again, when the budget is presented, we need to understand what Reliance is going to pay on
what
CBI.
projections they're going to
Gonna
make
make
on this. So
because of the downturn in
that's
business.
interesting, Chris.
And then we have the issue with Colin Bishop
Yeah.
that was also
Yeah.
removed
Yeah,
because of some issues that he have had in terms of
but he
how
was
he
doing a
has-
lot of business with the Russians. I
yes,
understand.
and how he conducted his business and so on. So again,
Yeah.
there's another cloud
Yeah.
over the CBI and their ability to ensure that the people who operate under their umbrella meet the full standards
Yeah.
and the quality that they need to meet.
Chris, again, we discuss this all the time. I'm saying it's unsustainable, but that's fine. Sargassum weed, Chris. We learned that there's some investment here, some initiatives here of how we can transform, engineer the sargassum into useful products. What are you hearing?
Yes, there's a company that was recently launched. One of the directors I know is a young lady that works in Chublu Bay.
Yeah,
And she and another gentleman formed this company to take the sargassum,
yeah.
put it in a biodigester,
Mm-hmm.
and convert it into biogas.
Okay.
Right? They did a pilot project that seemed to have gone very well, and they're now going into a more expansive project on the issue. The thing here for us with Sagassam seems to be with us now.
Yeah,
It's
permanently.
coming.
Yeah.
And before it gets to the point where it starts to stink because of the gases it gives off and so on, and it starts to rot,
Yeah.
they can harvest it, put them in a biodigester and turn it into a possible good
Yeah.
fuel
Yeah.
that can be used. Of course, how we use the fuel down the road and how they commercialize it is another issue, but the fact that we have a pilot which was successful and we see now a means where people can now harvest it out, clean it up before when it hit the beaches, and not have to deal with
So
some
we
of the
turn our
other
waste of
issues.
pollutant into something
Yes,
useful
and,
and productive.
environmentally
Excellent. Chris,
something very good.
Chris, before we close, I have to talk about that. The Middle East situation seems to be worsening day by day. Clearly, the genocide is on. What's happening in Gaza City now, the continued murder, killing of children and families, and destruction of entire communities, just flattened. And we see that the Israeli even, they have even gone and killed the persons negotiating with them. So clearly in Qatar, So you can see that Israel has no intentions to really stop what they're doing. And the world, I know Europe is, we know the UN General Assembly is coming up later this month. And that's going to be a big session there in terms of how the world reacts to what Israel is doing, whether they can stop Israel,
I have no confidence in the UN.
But it is
None.
just, it hurts. It is, I mean, where is humanity? Where's the rest of the world to see this every day? The starvation.
You have to ask yourself whether the structure of the UN we have is working for us.
Yeah.
Because here you have two countries, United States, Israel themselves, and those on the Security Council. Once you have veto power, like the United States, the whole Security Council might say they need to deal with Israel in a more firm way, and one veto vote, and nothing happens. So probably we need to relook the structure of this because it is so glaring. And you didn't talk about the starvation and the fact that they're not allowing food to come in to feed.
And the children.
That's right. And
it's difficult to view. It's
the head of the UN World Food Program was on television the other day talking about it, and you could see the passion and the compassion she had about how much children are going to die because the Israelis refuse to allow. We have aid trucks just lining, sitting on the border.
75,000 people. I mean, it's like, and it's a joke. And it continues every day.
So the question for us,
50,
Byron,
60.
is our world serious in this modern era of dealing with wars of that nature and genocide of that level, that we just sit back and just watch and do nothing?
I want to hear even what our government says about this.
But
I
we
want to
can't
hear
do
what
nothing. You say that all the time.
But we had a talk. We had to say, even though it's talk, words are wind. Talk it, your conscience, because we're part of humanity. We can't. It's difficult for me, Chris. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
but anyway.
My thing is that talk is a waste of time. No, we need to get firm action to deal with Israel.
Yeah.
Israel
is a how you call it, a rogue state. They can just go in and bomb anybody and kill anybody wherever you are. And of course, it is entirely supported by the United States. There's complicity.
Some of the allies are backing away now, but is that disgusting?
Let's see what happens with the Europeans in particular, what's coming up. Chris, that's all the time we have on this. Viewers, stay with us. As we told you, we're going to be interviewing Christopher Diali Jr. He is, of course, the caretaker for the NNP party in South St. George. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Laboratories, providing quality care and expertise. Fit for life and allied laboratories. See our in-house doctors and our pharmacies. Get expert care and quality tests. When it comes to your health, you deserve the best. Fit for life and allied laboratories. We're taking care of Grenada.
Welcome back, viewers, to, of course, MTV Community Forum, and we're here. I want to introduce our guest, our guest, and this is Christopher Diali Jr. I have to make sure and emphasize Jr. all the time. There's two different persons here. In fact, let me just introduce you by saying you're a former student of Grenada Boys Secondary School, Westmoreland Secondary School, and I learned something that you used to be an OECS heavyweight boxer champion. Yeah, really. So we talk about that too. Wow, that's interesting. Let me get by. Your educational background. You're undergrad in business and economics from the UK, a postgrad in investment finance from Canada, and you've worked in various roles in investment finance, auditing, small business financing, embarking on your own entrepreneurial journey also. You had an important initiative. You were an investment company, you established it, focused on what you call new age agriculture, that is using sustainable, climate smart solutions and focusing on Grenadians' well-being, I'm to understand, and establishing the first ever gourmet mushroom farm. That's interesting. So you believe in entrepreneurship, changing lives by creating sustainable livelihoods, and we'll talk about that, and allowing for better access to capital, professional services, and politics that focus on the empowerment of people by creating the tools for others to forge their own success stories. Your passion of family grounded in the community and nation building. But of course, what left me here is the whole question of empowerment of people. And I want to add to that, your father said that he spent lots of money to educate you, but you ended up in politics. I couldn't leave this point out at all. You ended up in politics, so apparently you didn't follow it. Yeah. But tell us, I mean, I want to look a bit of personal and motivation. Tell us, Chris, beyond politics, what should people know about you, your upbringing, your values, and your life experience? Who are you here?
I guess, as you alluded, politics was never really the path.
Yeah.
Always saw myself in business, eventually starting my own, and somehow along the path, it kind of veered off into something outside of that. Purely, it started from a place of pure patriotism. I just wanted to participate in my country's politics and its election process in a more intimate way, and that was volunteering. And in that volunteerism, I saw so many gaps and so much lack of young people coming together to participate in our democracy on a very high level. And I felt the conversation needed to be shifted. I think we needed to have more of our brightest and best minds involved in our politics and involved in the process. So I didn't want to be just a talker. I helped with some things with some friends, eventually got roped into a few other things, and I leaned into it, and I have no regrets since.
But tell us a bit about the New National Party and why the New National Party and not another party or what business or independent politics? Why the New National Party specifically at this stage of your life?
Well, I would say it falls in line with my values. I believe I have conservative values rooted in views of capitalism, libertarianism. I have that kind of political view. And when I looked at the different political parties, NNP suited that kind of politics where I was more leaning to. Also, my grandmother kind of like seeded a lot of NNP within me through growing up. And I leaned there, but obviously in that process, I learned a lot about the party, and its values spoke to me. I don't see it any other way. I mean, it was a choice that I felt natural.
Natural. But what principle guides your decision making? Where do you draw the moral compass from?
Well, I would say I'm Christian, conservative in a way.
Yeah.
I have progressive values, but I believe parties such as NMP, which has empowered women a lot in its politics, pushing women into high areas of its politics. One of the few parties to do that in a big way. And also the type of leadership we had, which is a kind of leadership rooted in the type of values of business, making sure people get right representation, making sure people who are less fortunate have the right tools to make sure that they can attain their dreams and their values be recognized. So I felt that it fell in line.
You're young. I mean, of course, you're a young man. What do you say about to those who believe politics is for the older heads, you know, that you should work, have an establishment before going into politics? What do you say about those persons?
I think that's a fallacy that I think we have grown too accustomed to. That in my view, I think a lot of our politicians were past bureaucrats who kind of, after retirement, they kind of felt, well, what's next? Let's go into politics. And people who are in the law field just felt like, after I attained everything in law, I'll just go into politics. So I just felt those two professions kind of leaned towards the politicians. And I felt that wasn't the scope of where politics needed to be. I felt we didn't have enough thinkers around problems. I think people were not aggressive enough in their approach. I thought they weren't people who represented a lot of the values I think most young people feel today. That we didn't feel represented by the people who were in the power, and we weren't felt heard. And I felt that we needed more people young people in that room.
But is the party responding to this? Is the party giving young people in your party? Because clearly when you look at some of the other caretakers, some of the newcomers, you see a lot of young people.
Yeah.
But is the party itself, the internal structure, is it allowing the young people there like yourself to contribute? I'm not going to say to take control, that's not the point, but rather to influence and to demonstrate, because that's where the energy is. Is it allowing satisfactorily for this to happen?
Well, first of all, I am a testament to that, because I didn't start in a party as just a candidate. I started in a party as a volunteer, then turned executive of the party. Then, eventually, I became a caretaker of the South of St. George's. Now, in that role, I didn't just come into the party from a perspective of just representative politics. I came into the party of looking at things from the policy side of things. I wanted to look at the structure and how we pulled in and recruited the best minds around us, and how the party could have a process where more young people felt that it represented them. So I came in with those ideas, and those ideas were very much embraced. A lot of people, when I spoke to in the high levels of the executive of the party, told me verbatim that the only way for more young people to come in is by seeing other young people dive in. It's one of those things like you have to take the leap to encourage others to take the leap. And I've had a good friend and brother, the PR of the party, Kitaka Mahuto, who was kind of like my brother in arms in the process, who encouraged me and pushed me, and we were like, okay, we'll do this together. And we didn't just approach the party politics. We viewed the party as an organism that served this country for such a long time and was such a good steward of the country. We wanted to make sure that this vessel became more modern, more embracing of the future, and more representing us as a country, a young populace.
So what do you say, and that's my last question before I pass you on, what do you say to, is it Tevin Andrews, the parliamentary representative in Carriacou, yeah? One of the criticism going his way, I've heard, is that he's never held a job, he doesn't have the experience to carry on the huge responsibility that's required in Carriacou, the lack of experience. Do you see this as a genuine critique, or do you think this is something that young people are able to overcome? Of course, they have less experience, but what's your comment on this issue?
I mean, it all depends on how you look at it. Are you doing the type of, like, I don't think a representative of a constituency or a parish or wherever is necessarily has to be a minister of government. I mean, I believe there should be a bar set for these kind of things to make sure that government ministries are properly controlled by people with the technocratic minds that make sure it's run in a more efficient and proper manner. I don't believe just because you win a seat, you necessarily need to control an entire ministry. So, put that aside, I mean, the people elected him. So, I believe the people should be aware of everyone's qualifications and that a democratic process should happen, whereas the people would make that choice. So, we see politicians from all around the world that are being elected and they have little qualifications, and politicians who has decades of politics and establishment politics with all the right credentials, and they don't get into power anymore.
So what do you bring to the party? What would you bring to government? What would you bring to administration?
Well, I think I kind of view it as a small business entrepreneur would, where I believe in disruption, I believe in tackling problems with a kind of technocratic approach where we can find solutions through enabling opportunities. We don't have to always go and approach our government where we always have to hinder growth and always look to regulate and license and over control some of the economy, where we need to liberate some of the economy to allow greater growth. And I think that is the type of conversation we need to have, like how the government enables growth instead of hinders it.
Chris?
Thank you. Young Diali, pleasure to have you on the program. You know, you are going up against Parliamentary Representative Honorable Andy Williams in South St. George. What is it that you believe when you watch at South St. George and what he has done? Because it's alleged that he has done a lot for that constituency and continues to do. But what do you believe you bring to South St. George that you could topple Mr. Williams, Honorable Andy Williams, in the next election?
Well, first of all, it'll be a long process till then. And in that process, I think I'm trying to make sure that people get to know me first. What I think Honorable Andy Williams has shown the community is that he has shown good effort. He has shown highlighted areas where we have not been addressing for some time. And that shows glaring gaps, but it does not show that he has filled those gaps. I think he has shown that we do have a housing situation in the South and that we need that to be addressed. But I believe that those houses constructed cannot withstand any major hurricane that can happen to the island. So I believe that is a waste of government resources in a wrong manner. I believe my type of what I bring to the table is an approach where I believe that proper consultation with the right people, making sure that we do the process right so that when we use government resources, that it is properly addressing the problems of the people and not just scatterbrain moving from one side to the next, just trying to look like we're doing busy work. I want to make sure the people of the South can have plans that can see growth in their future.
South St. George, if you have to win that constituency, there's a large volume of people in the Frequenté area, in the Granans Valley area that are, you know, I wouldn't say poor people, but less than, you come from a background of a middle class family. Do you believe you'll have a challenge to convince these people out there, just say, oh, look, and he never see trouble any day in his life yet, and he'll come in and talk to us and talk. Do you believe that could be a challenge, and how would you approach that?
No, I don't believe that is a challenge, because I had the distinct honor and privilege of watching my parents, like growing up watching them grind and build what they had to build. It didn't come from easy work, it came from hard work, and they both stayed in companies for over 30 years, and they provided a life for me that I admit is not making sure that I say it the right way. I did not lack for anything. And I'm proud to say that. But also, I also see many people in the community who do not have that same opportunity. And I wonder what happens for that parent who is trying to grind like my parents, who don't have that same opportunity of staying in a job for 30 years because jobs don't have that kind of longevity anymore. They move from job to job, they have lack of support, pension, and it is harder to build wealth now in this country. I am 35 years old. I still live with my parents. It's harder to build that type of wealth. And seeing what they came up with, that opportunity is not there for young people like I. I don't think that I am different from any other Grenadian out there who is trying to build themselves and trying to fight for a piece of Grenada to call their own. I am embarking on it on my own, despite like going away from the norm.
You're a young man, 35 years. You are expected to attract in the NNP because the NNP is an aging party, of course. Young people of your talent and your ilk, the question becomes, how do you balance social media, AI technology in your campaigning or in your outreach to constituency members versus old-style politics where you have these big rallies and house-to-house and so on? Is there consideration in your approach and in your marketing as to how you're going to balance that?
Oh, I think there will be a balance that will be constantly have to be struck right throughout the process. I think that technology only aids the what I consider the older architecture of politics. The rallies and other old forms of communication, I think, still is very important to the electorate. Being able to be boots on the ground, shaking hands, and being able to touch your constituents is an important part of our island politics. And I don't think that would ever go. Even though you use as much as AI and targeting with data and all these other things, it still does not avoid the responsibility of a candidate or someone looking for representation in government to not be with their people and to making sure that they still can see and touch their politicians is an important part of the process.
Have you and your backers in the party done data analytics of the constituency in South St. George to know exactly where the monies must be directed in terms of the campaign so that you could get maximum votes for your party? Has the data analytics been done?
Yes, data analytics is constantly in process in the constituency as data changes all the time. So yes, we have constantly been mapping the constituency and knowing what the right approach is.
So if the Prime Minister was to call an election tomorrow, you'll be ready?
I should be ready.
Should or would?
I will be ready.
Would you be open to doing a debate with your Honorable Andy Williams, your not your opposition, your foe,
Opponent. Yeah.
your opponent
Yeah.
in South St. George? Would you be open to doing a open debate and facing the public and taking questions on pertinent things to them in your constituency?
I would love that, to be honest.
The constituency of South St. George?
I would just say I think our politics has gone too far away from debate, where our people need to see the type of representation they have and the type of ideas they have for their communities and what they plan to bring to the table. So I would love the opportunity, and I relish the opportunity to have a debate live for the public to see with Honorable Andy Williams. Anytime, any place, I'm ready.
You know, you just had General Council in the NNP.
Yeah.
General Council meeting, and as Byron was mentioning and I was mentioning earlier, the thing that stands out is the Honorable Keith Mitchell and his salvo in the General Council, and the theatrics among it. So Honorable Emmeline Pear, who is the leader of the party, political leader, she had some very good comments on areas that she touched on inflation and how we're going to handle that, how the party plans to address certain things and so on. Do you believe that style of politics still has value?
Which style? Doc style?
Yeah, the theatrics.
Oh, yes.
Doc did speak a lot about, but the terminologies he used and so on, some people would say it's uncomfortable. But do you believe that, in other words, does it overshadow what the Honorable Political Leader, Emmeline Pear, is about and what she has to say? Because his thing, we like a lot of old talking Grenada, and that theatrics helped. People like, when you look at all the Facebook and all the things now, that is what you're seeing. Dr. Mitchell, theatrics about the thing. I mean, nothing wrong with the content of what he said, but it's the way in which he did it, of course.
I think I look at it differently from others. I think our team is built like the Avengers. Sometimes Doc is a Hulk, and sometimes Doc goes out on stage and smash. And I think we need that. I think it invigorates the base. It reminds people that Doc still has that fire in his belly, and he's there as a consultation support.
You don't
making
think
sure
it
that-
takes away from the leadership of current leadership? MLMT?
No,
Does not.
no.
Okay, I take that no. We're going to take a short break
Yeah.
now. Viewers, we're going to come back with our conversation with Chris D'Ali Jr. Stay with us.
Fit for Life and Allied Laboratories, providing quality care and expertise. Fit for Life and Allied Laboratories, see our in-house doctors and our pharmacies. Get expert care and quality tests. When it comes to your health, you deserve the best. Fit for Life and Allied Laboratories, we're taking care of Grenada.
Welcome back, viewers. We're here this evening with Chris D'Ali Jr. He's, of course, the caretaker for the constituency of South St. George. Chris, before we went, I want to go in a different angle now. Yeah, Grenada is ranked among the top 15 globally, countries globally, most at risk from climate change. And this is a UNDP report last year. What role do you think young leaders like yourself must play in climate adaptation and resilience?
Well, I think the conversation has to begin holistically, yeah? Because we're not talking about climate adaptation and resilience. If we're not talking about every process in Grenada, to our food, our disposal of waste, to how we fish, how we cut down trees, everything is up for grabs when we're talking about resiliency. How much of the trees we cut down do we plant back and make sure we have carbon storage within our forests? You know, these are questions we're not really asking ourselves. But I think I see a lot more young people who, by action and how they live their lives generationally, I think it's changed a lot. I see people who are more concerned of where they get their clothes and the type of materials, making sure that they don't have to do fast fashion brands, and that they can have their clothes can repair and go to a seamstress, a tailor, to make sure it lasts longer. I see from the way people live and garden more, and instead of going to the supermarket, they make a little food garden outside. Young couples, you know, they watch so much things on Netflix about the broken food system. They're like, nah, hey, I'm not even bothered going and go Real Value because, you know, I don't know where all the stuff are coming from. My point being is that I think generationally it's changing. I think more people are taking stock because they have a lot more information available to everyone.
As a follow-up to that, Grenada has moved, transport is a big thing for us in terms of carbon emissions. This government have ensured that there is concessions, duty-free concessions for total electric vehicles, and encouraging the use of PV in terms of electricity and energy consumption and the cost of energy in the country. Is that something that you believe young people have bought into? And does the NNP have a strategy that they're going to put forward to the people through their manifesto regarding PV and so on, and the environmental issues surrounding that, and where we need to go as a nation?
Well, let me first say that I don't think we have gone far enough. So yes, it is a conversation we have been having across the party for a while now. A lot of people in the party are citizens of this country, and they see their Grenelec bill getting higher and higher, and they're also worried about where things are going. Like, the world is changing. What happens if we can't get a fuel boat in to the country? That is a national security issue. So I think that the plan for Grenada has to be one of aggressive climate action in terms of power and power generation and power storage. We have many types of natural resources, I would say, that we should start considering, such as wave energy, of course, wind turbines, and even large-scale storage facilities and large 40-foot container storage facilities, so that we can store power and make sure the grid is not overburdened, and make sure that we have a good balance of clean, renewable energy available for the system. That is the type of thinking we need to see in government, and making sure that it's being employed in our policy.
Let me take you up on fisheries, because we had a discussion earlier on fisheries, and the new issues now we're facing with the U.S. putting us on a blacklist for the shipment of our fish products and fish into the U.S. Do you believe, and how do you see us overcoming that issue? Because we may say it's an opportunity for us to, to have fish processing done locally. All the years we've been catching fish and just shipping it. Can we process fish and can it and so on? Are there new markets? We see a big development between the government and Africa. Do we use partnerships from that arrangement to give us the kind of strength that we need in fisheries and to export to new markets like South America and so on? How do you see that as a young person, as a major issue, if you were to form the government tomorrow, that you all would approach?
Well, I believe where there's great chaos, there's great opportunity. I believe trade links and a lot of trade barriers are coming up, are creating a lot of chaos in the market, and it have a lot of opportunities more available than that wasn't before. I believe Europe is going through their own challenges in logistics and everything. I believe the Americas and a lot of South America also is having a disruption in logistics. I believe these are times where we should be able to be very aggressive in our trade policy to find new ways to find those markets.
So let me ask you, inflation, cost of living. Emlyn Pierce spoke about that and they're concerned about it. And here we have, the projection is between now and December, we could see an average increase in imported inflation on food products of at least 20%, or approximately 20%. How would your party deal with that? Because that is imported inflation. How do you see the party handling that because of Mr. Trump's tariffs that he's imposing on our countries, that including us in the OECS?
Well, I believe what the party would always do is take sobering thought process in dealing with a problem. I believe we will lean on the vast network of technocrats we have available in the party to have a brainstorming and thinking session of how we go about the problem, and make sure we can lean on certain partners to create new trade avenues for us to exploit. I don't believe in constantly seeing barriers all the time. I believe if you have you're cornered, you need to find a future within, so start digging below or go up. I don't believe in constantly looking at, these are the problems. Yes, these are the problems, but what are the solutions? We have a disruption in our trade, then look for new trade partners. I believe that we have a situation where we have imported inflation. Look for markets where we don't have that imported inflation, like in CARICOM markets. What about our CARICOM partners like Guyana, who's booming, and they're going to have mega farms and these things happening? What are our connections in there? Are we creating greater trade surplus between those countries?
So I like where you're going, because I wanted to ask you on international affairs, what is your view on Grenada's place in the world? CARICOM, the US, China. Where should we be leaning?
In terms of what?
Well, in terms of our place in the world, in terms of the geopolitics, where should Grenada be?
I think strategically should always be a friend of all. I believe true diplomacy is making sure that we're no enemy of any. We're a small nation, and we're a nation is highly impacted by bigger partners. So I don't believe a role, a type of position where we constantly go in against our bigger partners. I believe there should be adequate diplomacy. We should stand by our morals and values, but there should be diplomacy to find a middle ground. And where things are changing so fast in this world right now, I think we should not just be guided by what is the expedient thing to do and what is right in the moment, but think long term. What about what happens when our partners change? You know, there may be new partners. And what about our existing partners? I think all of them should be married together. We should always find a way. We should be a Singapore of the Caribbean. In other words, a friend to all. Everyone sees us as their friend and trades with us and invests in us. And that is the type of position I see Grenada should take in this world.
I'm going to bring it local now. If a voter in South St. George asks you, why should I leave Andy Williams and put my trust in you, what would you say?
Well, I think I would make you want to leave Andy Williams eventually. The more you get to know me, I think what I bring to the table is a type of vision for the South that is beyond what is being shown right now. I think what we see in the South is an economic bastion where we can even take our country even higher. Not just our tourism belt, but create the kind of opportunities young people can see themselves taking part in.
The South is full of businesses. The hotel sector to a large extent, the business community, manufacturing to some extent, and other retail and trade sectors in down in the South. Do you believe the representation by Honorable Andy Williams have been able to meet the needs and understand the issues that these businesses face in the South? Traffic is a good example, but do you believe it has been met reasonably well?
I mean, I don't think that question is a no across the board, because the business people I meet today, some are in retail, some are in trade, and they will tell you last year's debacle on the port, they didn't get none of their Christmas goods till the new year. Now they're using last year's Christmas goods for this year, because they're still trying to dig themselves out of the hole of the debacle of last year's port fiasco. I see so much other things that business people are complaining about, not just the fact that it's so hard to move around the South and they're waiting for goods and these kind of things. Their employees are spending an hour in traffic. It's not just that. It is talking about our urbanization of the South, where there's adequate sidewalks for people to walk and take a jog with in the evening. There's residential neighborhoods within the South among the commercial entities and the hotel belt. These are the people who service these other businesses. They are the employees of these businesses. So how do we service those communities? Are they adequately lit to get home? Do they have proper stairs or walkways to get to their homes? When they have so much, everybody knows the famous soca song, Granans, right? But Granans is just not that one main route, you know. The Granans has so many smaller routes within the community, Mount Hartman, the Valley, parts in the back of Valley, Upper Montu, Woburn, Springs partially. Like, these are areas that don't have that bus connectivity. What about the old people who are trying to get some groceries or medicine? How hard it is for them to traverse through the community? Is that an economic bastion of the future? Is that the type of vision we have for communities, which is, to me, 20, 30 years present? I think we should be building communities for the future, for my kids later on.
So what legacy do you want to leave as a young politician? What legacy do you want to leave stepping into Grenada's political history?
I mean, there's so many great politicians that came from me. I haven't even thought about that. I'm so early in the journey. What I do plan to do, though, is I really just want to do my best.
What are your parents saying to you as you step into politics?
That conversation changes, depends on the day. But
You have their support?
I have my parents' support. I mean, I always ask my father advice from time to time.
Okay.
So yeah, I take it in stride.
I'll leave the final question for you, Dad.
Well, my final question, one of the biggest problems we face in this country now is labor. Across all sectors, whether it's agriculture, construction, retail, trade, Most local and young entrepreneurs who go into business tell you that they cannot get workers with the right attitude to work to deal with their business and what they expect in terms of effectiveness, efficiency, and so on. What, in your view, is a possible solution for that labor issue? Because our Grenadian men in particular don't want to work as we would like them to work. Our women are doing well, but our men seem to be in crisis.
I don't view the problem on a sex style, male or female. I just view the problem as an incentivization problem. I talked to a young woman who works for a good hotel in the south. She has 2 children, young children, and she works a lot in overtime. She sells a lot, cross-sells in the hotel, and she sacrifices a lot for her family. She barely gets to see her kids. And she'll make sometimes additional to her base pay, sometimes $2,000 extra for her hard work. When you look at what comes back on her pay slip, nearly half of that is gone. She would tell you now, when you're looking at her children growing up and she's barely spending time with them, is that worth it? Is that loss of my time with my children worth it anymore? Should I work this hard and lose that time with them? No, that is a question a lot of young adults. We're not talking about a generation of the boomers. This is a millennial and Gen Z generation who question everything. So I don't believe in the type of problem of looking at it as, yes, yeah, some women are employed more professionally and men are in, I don't believe in that. I believe in work and incentives. You incentivize good behavior, you de-incentivize bad behavior. We need to create a process and a policy that allows Grenadians, both the employer and the employee, see a benefit. I believe in what I consider the bread must break right kind of policy, where both the employee, the business person, and the owner can see that if I tell my worker work harder, that he can go home with more of his pay, more of his hard work.
So in the short term, do you believe a solution is to bring in labor into the country, get rid of work permit, and would you push something like that in your party?
I would leave that up to a debate, a discussion within the party to see what is the best role and what is the best position to take. But I am forever going to be a capitalist, so I believe that there should be less barriers of entry for better talent to come into the country.
And that's all the time we have. Closing statement from you.
I just want to say it was a pleasure. I've been a big fan of the show, and it's been truly an honor to spend the time with you guys tonight. To the viewers and listeners, I just wanted to say my name is Christopher Diali. I am the caretaker for the South for the National Party, and if you are living in the South, I would be seeing you very soon, and I am planning to make sure that you are properly represented for the next general elections coming in Grenada.
Thank you very much. Our pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Viewers, that's all the time we have. We want to thank you for being with us. We'll see you. We're thanking the technical staff and others. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.